Roy with Hammrtech Tech Tips, and I'm a project manager and information technology specialist with Hammrtech LLC. Hammrtech is a local veteran-owned and operated information technology and software development company with over 10 years of experience servicing customers all over the world. And today I want to talk about why the dang phone rings from a local number from someone who can barely speak English, asking you about your social security number, your car warranty, tax debt, criminal charges, and a whole host of other crazy things that people can say to you on the phone. So to kind of start off with some basics, if someone calls and says that you owe them money, it's a scam. If someone calls and says that your social security number has become compromised, it's a scam. If they say they're with Microsoft and your computer is causing damage to their network, it's a scam. If they tell you that you have a warrant out for your arrest and you need to pay them to get it removed, it's a scam. If they want to be paid in iTunes gift cards or any other third-party payment method, it's a scam. That's the most telling portion of it. Anytime someone asks you to pay something outside of a normal payment method with a debit card, it's definitely a scam. iTunes gift cards, all that is so they can launder their money. So the next question that people generally ask me is, who is calling? Now, most of these calls actually come from poor South Asian countries such as India and Pakistan. They're typically organized into two types of groups. You have organized and freelance. So your organized groups work in these giant call centers that are humongous, thousands of employees, and it's kind of a sweatshop. They put people in the room and they say, hey, the phone's going to dial out and you're going to read this script, and it's kind of a factory. And the reason that they're successful is because they have managers that listen in on the lines, and they listen to what they call marks. They identify someone that they are likely able to scam, and they'll intercede in that call, jump onto that call, and take it over with their more experienced personnel. It's really an operation. And then the next one you got is the freelance scammers, and they're typically smaller, 3 to 5 people, and instead of calling hundreds and hundreds of people a day, they will pick out a specific company or individual, they'll research it, they'll practice on each other, and then will attack in a very intelligent way. They look for people's weaknesses, and then they try to take advantage of those weaknesses. And one of the biggest weaknesses that most people have is wanting to be nice. No one wants to be rude or crass. So scammers know this. So one of the best things you can ask whenever you receive a phone call from a number you don't recognize, who's telling you that they're an organization or a business, is just to ask what their physical address and name of their organization is. 9 times out of 10, actually 10 times out of 10 in my experience, they'll just hang up the phone immediately. That's the end of the phone call. They don't know how to answer that. It's not part of their script. They don't have a lie ready to go. And if you ask them a question that they don't have a lie ready to answer, they will just hang up the phone. The next question I typically get is, how are they calling? And this is actually the simplest one to answer. If you go to Google right now and you Google auto dialer, you will find thousands of applications that you can set up for free in 5 minutes that will allow you to dial out from your computer and spoof, which means, fake any phone number that you want. So you could look like you're calling from Washington, D.C., you could look like you're calling from London. It really doesn't matter to the program. And there's just thousands of those programs that anyone can just kind of sign up for and use. That's how they're dialing and making it look like it's coming from us. What I use to show how this is not a new business, because scamming people isn't new, nor is taking advantage of people. Dialing over the phone the way they do is new, but this is actually hundreds of year-old problem. And the thing I always point to is the Barbary Pirates. The Barbary Wars took place in between the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, and it lasted from May 10th, 1801 to June 10th, 1805. And if you ever heard the Marine song where they sing about Tripoli, that is where that comes from. That was the first conflict that the Marine Corps participated in. That's why they remember it so well. So the Barbary states were Tunisia, Algeria, and Tripoli. They were African coast nations, and they were actually Muslim extremists who would go out in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, and they would capture ships and take Europeans and Americans and anyone they could find as slaves, and then they would demand tribute to get your material, your ships, and your people back. And all these European nations were paying tribute to the Barbary pirates because they didn't have the resources to defeat the Barbary pirates due to the Napoleonic Wars, which was happening at the same time. So this was actually the first time the United States actually declared war, if you don't count the Revolutionary War, which is kind of a good way to look at it. And the slogan that the Federalists took was millions for defense, but not 1 cent for tribute. And I feel like America as a society needs to have that same exact view to this current problem. They're not kidnapping people, fair enough, but when whenever grandma gets a phone call and she loses $800 and that's her entire Social Security check for the month, that's just as bad as kidnapping someone off a ship. And I wish that our country would take this threat seriously and protect the most vulnerable among us, because that's who's suffering. You know, it's not a 24-year-old getting a phone call losing tens of thousands of dollars. It's, you know, it's grandma. And they know that, and they target it specifically. So that's kind of the way I always try to equate it to something in the past. This is almost like a conflict, a low-grade conflict. The last thing I'll leave you with is just kind of some startling numbers directly from the FBI. In 2017, $1.4 billion was stolen through phone crimes. In 2019, $3.5 billion. I'm willing to bet that in the next 2 years, we will be over $7 billion a year lost in theft over the phone, which is a ridiculous amount of money. And yeah, that's my tip. My biggest tip is to make sure that you ask the person for their business name and their business address, because if they are a scammer, they will just hang up the phone and you can go about your day. And that's Hammrtech's Tech Tips. And how you can reach us, you can email us at info@hammrtech.com. And that Hammrtech, we spell a little funny. That's HAMMRTECH. You can also visit us on the web at hammrtech.com or give us a phone call at 865-500-5510. We manage lots of small businesses in the area, and we're always happy to help out anyone in any situation that we possibly can. Thanks. This is Joe Roy with Hammrtech Tech Tips, and I will talk to you next time.